I grew up in a volatile home in a tough German farming community in northern Ohio, a place where becoming an artist was not understood, let alone encouraged. I always felt different in other ways too, but couldn't name it. And in the 1950s and 60s, there were no significant role models to show me what that difference might mean. In times of trauma and confusion, I often sought refuge in nature. The woods, the rocks, and the water became my sanctuary. I would sit quietly, drawing and painting, expressing what words could not. Art and nature gave me a voice before I even understood what I needed to say. They became my place of calm, healing, and safety, the foundation of who I would become as an artist and a teacher. For 40 years, I tried to fit into a mold that was never mine. Then I made a life-changing decision. I gathered my children around me and came out to them. It was a terrifying choice, but a liberating one. By being honest and vulnerable, I created a space for their truths. Later, one of my children came out as transgender, a moment of profound acceptance and healing that changed her life. With my children's support, I pursued my dream. I applied and was accepted to Herron School of Art and Design, earned my BFA, and later completed 2 master's degrees, one in teaching and another one in painting. I was no longer just a white, cis daughter, sister, and mother, but also a queer artist and an educator. Working in an inner city high school, determined to teach beyond test scores. I saw my students as people, each carrying emotions, experiences, and trauma, and I knew, because I lived it, that creative self-expression could be a tool for healing. Over the years, I have worked with individuals in shelters for the unhoused, adolescents in jail awaiting trial, and children in psychiatric hospitals. Continuing this work, I currently bring therapeutic interventions to women at a Missouri correctional center. All of these folks have sat in our classrooms at some point, yet the system failed to see them fully. I knew art could be their lifeline, just as it had been mine. But as many of you know, a teacher's identity isn't always valued, and advocating for inclusivity can come at a cost. One day, after years of dedication, tripling art program attendance, and leading overseas cultural art trips for students, I was called into the office. Several administrators sat waiting for me with my file spread across the table. They asked me point blank, "Are you a lesbian?" I froze, but I answered honestly, yes. I had always kept my personal and professional lives separate, but I had been outed. They recorded my response, and then they asked me if I was in a relationship or living with someone. I wasn't, so I could honestly say no. Later, I learned that a different answer to that second question would have cost me my job. That day, I felt afraid and devalued. I had already spent too much of my life hiding. I knew I couldn't stay somewhere that refused to accept me fully. So I made another terrifying decision, and I applied to doctoral programs. At the end of that year, I left my job, again stepping into uncertainty. When I accepted an assistantship at IU in Bloomington, it was the first time I moved away without my children. It was only an hour away. And they were adults, and most of them had already moved on to begin their lives, but that didn't make it any easier. I found myself struggling with traditional questions of what kind of woman, mother, grandmother do I want to be? Stay close and available to bake cookies and babysit, or take a risk and be an example of resilience and tenacity? Again, with the love and support of my children, at 64, I completed my Ph.D. at Indiana University. And soon after that, I moved to Columbia, Missouri with my 2 little dogs to teach at Mizzou. Knowing no one in the state, my friends in Indiana said, go online and meet people. But that's how I met my wife. We moved in together just before COVID, a time that reshaped everything. That was 6 years ago, and 2 years ago we got married. We like to say that every COVID year equals 20 years. So soon we'll have been married for 50 years. During the pandemic, our driveway became a gathering place. What started as my wife and I sitting outside in our new neighborhood with a glass of wine soon turned into something much larger. Our neighbors joining us slowly and cautiously, one by one. This gathering brought about an impromptu accordion performance by a passing busker, many celebrations, and a loving, supportive community built in the most uncertain of times. To this day, we still gather in our driveway every Thursday at 5:30. It's more than a tradition. It's become our chosen family. At 70, I am in my 6th year of teaching at Mizzou, where I teach and advocate for future teachers and lead meditative expressive arts workshops. I am also a practicing artist, showing my work in galleries and museums. I've come to understand that strength isn't just about independence. It's about connection. For years, I thought I could go through life without asking for help, but I now know the power of community. This journey hasn't been mine alone. My tribe, which consists of my wife, my 5 children, my 7 granddaughters, and my friends have stood with me every step of the way. They are my source of encouragement, love, and understanding. They have shown me that strength lies in empathetic connection, and I strive to give love and compassion back to them and out to the world. Together, we honor our fierce and fearless ancestors, trailblazers who set the standard for resilience and tenacity. Starting my teaching career and creative journey later in life, leaving a stable job to pursue my Ph.D. was daunting, but worth every step. I want my granddaughters to know there's nothing they can't accomplish. I may not be the cookie-baking grandmother they would like to expect, but I will teach them how to make good trouble so that others don't have to endure what I did. My journey isn't over, but with every step forward, we are moving in the right direction, and that is progress.